I think it was really hard to know what a pass.
দেখেন, এসব মুহূর্তে সবাই ম্যাচ জয়ের কথাই ভাবে। আমি একটু উইকেটের বাইরেই ছিলাম, তবে বাংলাদেশকে ধন্যবাদ দিতেই হয়। ওরা যেভাবে আমাকে ফিরিয়ে এনেছে তা প্রশংসার যোগ্য। আমি আসলে তো অত ভালো ব্যাটার না, তবে ধন্যবাদ দিতে চাই। এরকম পরিস্থিতিতে হয়তো আমরাও এটা করতে পারতাম। লিটন আমাকে ফিরিয়েছিল, আমি এসে হ্যান্ডশেক করেছি, জড়িয়ে ধরেছি। সবাই ম্যাচ জয়ের জন্যই খেলে, এটা এখন খেলার একটা অংশ, মোটেও ভুল কিছু নয়। পুরো বিশ্বতেই এটা হয়ে আসছে। তারা চাইলেই আমাকে নাও ফেরাতে পারতো, কিন্তু সেখানে তারা স্পোর্টসম্যানশিপ দেখিয়েছে। সবাই দলকে জেতানোর জন্যই খেলে।
I guess getting him out was a really, really important part of the game.
So this wicket is better than the previous one?
Yeah, I think so. I think, if you just have to look back at some of the highlights. I think there was definitely a bit more pace in it. And I think it offered something for everyone. The seam bowlers got a bit out of it. If you applied yourself as a batter, you could get some runs and the ball spun towards the back end of the game. So, yeah, I think it was a better wicket.
Were you surprised when they called you back after you got out?
With your skills, or was it the wicket also which played inside?
Yeah, the wicket definitely got tougher to bat on later in the day, I think. And that was the whole reason why we decided to bat first. And I think, generally when you see a wicket that's been under cover for a while, you think maybe we'll bowl first and see what it's actually doing. But it's definitely deteriorated over time, and it turned out that it was the right decision to make.
Which of the wickets would stand out for you? Which spell? Was it the first real burst, or towards the end, where you were also trying for a 7 towards the end?
Oh, you're always trying to get wickets, as many wickets as you can. But, for me, probably the most satisfying wicket actually was, I think, my 5th wicket. Not necessarily because it was 5 wickets, but, I'd worked really hard on my run-up to be able to bowl a fraction quicker as to what I was doing perhaps a year or two ago. And that type of delivery is what I've been working really hard towards. So it's really pleasing to see that it's, got me a wicket.
And the batting, towards the end, obviously, there was a man-getting incident. How did you see that? And was it, why did you hug the bowler?
Oh, look, we're competitive people, generally when you're out there and you're trying to compete and win games for your country. So it can get a little bit heated. And, I think I was out by such a small fraction, and, it sort of caught me off guard. But I think back in the day, I come from a bit of an old cloth, but you give the batter a warning. But I understand that it's not the rules at the moment. So I think it was a great gesture by Bangladesh. I think they handled it really, really well, and really fortunate that they were able to call me back. And I like to think if I was in that situation as a bowler, I'd do the same thing. Oh, not necessarily. I'm not a very good batter. So I think it was a nice gesture, and like I say, I'd like to think if I was in that situation as a bowler, I would do the same thing. If we're playing under, some great captains over the past few years for New Zealand, I think they would have done the same thing. So I think Litton Das was exceptional the way he handled it. And like I say, we get competitive out there, but I went and hugged the bowler and sort of gave Litton a handshake, because at the end of the day, we're really competitive. We want to win games for our country, but we all respect the game of cricket very highly, and really endeavour to keep the spirit intact.
Do you feel the extra runs you added changed the match momentum, and what would you have done if you were the bowler and Bangladesh of the non-striking batsman or non-striking batsman?
Yeah, look, as many runs as you can get out there, the better. So, definitely think, the more runs you can get is a good thing. But like I say, if I was, firstly, I'd like to think I probably wouldn't throw a man cat out there personally, but I understand that it is part of the game. It's part of the rules of the game now. You've seen it all over the world happen, and it's sort of come to light as like a bit of a controversial issue, but. It is part of the rules, and they could have easily just let me go off and walk off. But huge credit to the sportsmanship that they showed out there today, and we're fortunate to come out on the winning side. But it's really important to keep the spirit of the game alive, especially when we're playing such competitive cricket and wanting to win games for our country.
As a leg spinner, apart from the turn that you expect from pitches like this, do you believe that your height and your point of view gives you some sort of extra advantage, and if it does, how do you exploit it against batsmen?
Yeah, I suppose a lot of the really successful new age leg spinners are probably a lot shorter than what I am, and sort of can get skid, keep the stumps in play all the time. And I've always sort of like thought maybe my bounce could play against me sometimes because sometimes I don't actually hit the stumps, and sometimes on the slow wickets I can sit into the wicket a little bit more. So sort of like a year ago when I changed my run up, it was something to be able to add to my game was that skiddy sort of nature at times, but certainly not trying to neglect a lot of my height as well. So trying to use it as much as I can, and still trying to find ways to get better.
And on pitches which you wouldn't expect as much as turn or pitches, do you think that comes in as your primary fate, the turn that you expect, the other aspects that come in?
ওয়ালটন ফ্যানের অ্যারোডাইনামিক ব্লেড ঘরের কোনায় কোনায় ঠান্ডা বাতাস ছড়িয়ে হাওয়া বদলে নেয়।
I think it's just comes down to the conditions that we play in back home. Like, in New Zealand, you might get a pitch that spins once every 2 years. And so, you have to find different ways to be successful. And if you can't sort of, find those ways, then it's really easy to go for a lot of runs and, sit on the bench for a really long time. So it's important to find other ways to be successful. I naturally find it really difficult coming here because, the type of balls that spin don't necessarily spin in New Zealand. And so, finding out what that stock ball looks like is really important. And it's really quite difficult sometimes to be able to change something you've done for 20 years and then try to do it out here. So, and I guess when you have days like that, it's quite pleasing because you work so hard with, coaches and support staff and try to be as successful as you can in these conditions. And so it's really nice.
The other 6 wicket holders from New Zealand are obviously Ben Bolt, Tim Southey, and you have the Shane Warne number of times. You have Scott Side, but it's generally hard work. The first one, what is it like to be in that company?
Oh, it's pretty cool, eh? Like, I mean, I love leg spin bowling, and I love the fact that there's a lot of young leg spinners coming through New Zealand at the moment, and I think that's a product of a lot of the T20 leg spinners around the world at the moment. When I was growing up, it was Shane Warne. You always wanted to be like that. And I guess guys are exposed to so many different types of, media nowadays that you can see a lot of guys, and from a young age they find something they really enjoy. And Rashid Khan's playing a big role with that at the moment. So no, it's great to be in that company. I still feel like I've got a lot of sort of miles in my legs, and so hopefully you can produce some good match winning performances for New Zealand over the years.